I was holding a DNA test in my shaking hands, and the name on the results wasn't my sister's. It was a stranger's. The woman who'd stolen my entire inheritance, who'd turned my dying mother against me, who'd stood at the funeral and smirked while I cried. Wasn't even part of my family, and she'd known it for 20 years. But let me start from the moment everything fell apart. My mother died on a Tuesday in November, pancreatic cancer. She was 63. I'd spent the last 8 months by her side, feeding her, bathing her, driving her to chemo, sleeping on a cot in her hospital room. My sister Victoria visited twice, once for Christmas dinner, once when the doctors said it was close to the end. Both times she stayed less than an hour. So when the lawyer read the will and everything, the house, the savings, the investment accounts, the jewelry, my grandmother's antique collection, all of it went to Victoria. I thought it was a mistake. I actually laughed. "That can't be right," I said. "Check again." It was right. Every penny. $1.4 million in assets, all to Victoria Ann Marsh. I got a single item, my mother's wedding ring. The lawyer looked at me with pity. Victoria looked at me with something worse, satisfaction. But I had no idea the real betrayal was so much deeper than money. I tried to contest the will, of course I did, but my lawyer said something that stopped me cold. The will was updated 3 times in the last year of your mother's life. Each time, more assets were moved to Victoria. The final version was signed 6 weeks before your mother passed. 6 weeks. When my mother could barely hold a pen, when she was on so much morphine she sometimes didn't recognize me. "Who witnessed the signatures?" I asked. "Victoria's husband, Robert, and a notary named Gerald Fisk." Victoria's husband witnessed her own will. That's not just suspicious, that's textbook undue influence. But proving it would cost $80,000 minimum in legal fees, and I didn't have $80,000. I didn't even have $8,000. I'd quit my job to care for my mother. My savings were gone. I was living in my car. That's when everything changed. I didn't give up. I got a job. Night shift at a warehouse, just like every other revenge story, right? But during the day, I researched. I read every book on estate law I could find. I spent hours at the public library learning about probate fraud, undue influence, and fiduciary duty. And I started digging into Victoria's past. Here's what I found. Victoria had been systematically isolating my mother for years. She'd convinced Mom to change her phone number, told her it was for safety. She'd intercepted my letters when Mom was in the early stages of illness. She'd told Mom I was too busy with my career to visit, when in reality I was calling every day and being told Mom was resting. By the time I realized what was happening and showed up in person, my mother looked at me like I was a stranger who'd abandoned her. Victoria had rewritten our entire relationship, and Mom, sick and confused, believed her. And then I found something that made my blood run cold. I was going through my mother's old filing cabinet, the one Victoria hadn't bothered to take from the house before it was sold. At the bottom, under tax returns from the 1990s, I found a folder labeled Private, Do Not Open. Inside were 3 documents that changed everything. The first was a letter from a fertility clinic dated 1984, 2 years before Victoria was born. It was addressed to my parents. It discussed an embryo transfer procedure. The second was a birth certificate, not from our county, from a different state entirely. Victoria's birth certificate, but the parents listed weren't my mom and dad. They were names I'd never seen, David and Karen Holloway. The third was an adoption finalization document. Victoria Ann Holloway, adopted by James and Eleanor Marsh. 1986. Sealed court order. Victoria was adopted. And she knew. Because the folder had been opened before, the seal was broken, the pages were creased, and there was a sticky note in Victoria's handwriting. Told Mom I found this. She promised it doesn't change anything. It shouldn't. She'd known since she was a teenager, and she'd spent the rest of her life overcompensating, being the perfect daughter, the one who never made waves, the one who agreed with everything Mom said. Until Mom got sick. Then she used that secret as leverage. I spoke to my Aunt Rose, my mother's sister. She confirmed everything. Victoria had confronted my mother about the adoption when she was 16. My mother was devastated, terrified Victoria would feel unwanted. So she overcorrected. Every argument between Victoria and me, Mom took Victoria's side. Every financial decision, Victoria got preference. And when Mom got sick, Victoria saw her chance to lock it all in permanently. "Your mother told me she wanted to split everything equally," Aunt Rose said, crying. "She told me that 2 months before she died, but Victoria had already had the will changed." If you're still with me, a quick like really helps the channel. Trust me. What happens next is something nobody saw coming. I hired a forensic document examiner, a retired FBI handwriting analyst named Dr. Poulsen. I scraped together $3,000, everything I had, and gave him the 3 wills. His findings were devastating. The final will, the one that gave everything to Victoria, showed signs of guided hand signatures. My mother's signature was technically hers, but the pen pressure, the stroke patterns, the tremor analysis all indicated someone was holding her hand while she signed. The notary, Gerald Fisk. His license had been suspended twice for ethics violations, and Robert, Victoria's husband, had no legal standing to witness a will in which his wife was the primary beneficiary. The will was fraudulent. I took everything to the district attorney. The document analysis, the adoption records, the testimony from Aunt Rose, the notary's disciplinary history, the isolation pattern. The DA opened an investigation. And once they started looking at Victoria's finances, the whole house of cards collapsed. Victoria hadn't just stolen my inheritance, she'd been draining my mother's accounts for years before she died. Power of attorney, granted during a routine hospital visit that I was never told about, gave Victoria access to everything. She'd moved $340,000 out of my mother's savings between the diagnosis and the death. She'd sold my mother's jewelry collection, worth $120,000, to a dealer in New York. She'd even taken a second mortgage on the house without my mother's knowledge, using the power of attorney to sign. Total stolen, $460,000 on top of the $1.4 million inheritance. Victoria was charged with elder financial abuse, fraud, and forgery. Robert was charged as an accessory. Gerald Fisk lost his notary license permanently and was charged with conspiracy. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Victoria's defense was predictable. I was the good daughter. I was the one who was there. But the evidence told a different story. Dr. Poulsen's testimony about the guided signatures was devastating. Aunt Rose's testimony about my mother's true wishes had the jury in tears. And my documentation of the isolation campaign, the changed phone numbers, the intercepted letters, the lies about my absence, painted a picture of systematic manipulation. Guilty. All counts. Victoria got 6 years. Robert got 2. The will was invalidated. The court appointed a new executor who divided the estate according to my mother's original wishes, equally between us. But since Victoria owed restitution for the stolen funds, her share was garnished. I received the house, the remaining investments, and my grandmother's antique collection. But here's the part that still haunts me. After the verdict, I went to see Victoria in the holding cell. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted closure. Maybe I wanted to understand. She looked at me, mascara streaked, hands cuffed, and said, "You have no idea what it's like, being the one who doesn't really belong. I spent my whole life trying to earn what you got just by being born." And for a moment, just a moment, I felt sorry for her. She was right. She didn't ask to be adopted. She didn't ask to feel like an outsider in her own family, but none of that justified what she did. "You could have talked to me," I said. "You could have told me you were struggling. Instead, you stole from a dying woman and tried to erase me from my own family." She didn't answer. I walked out. I haven't spoken to her since. I live in my mother's house now. I kept it exactly the way Mom had it. The photos, the furniture, the garden she loved. Every morning I sit at her kitchen table and drink coffee from her favorite mug. Sometimes I talk to her. I tell her I'm sorry I couldn't protect her. And I tell her the truth won. If this story shook you, subscribe and drop a comment. What would you have done if you found those documents? I read every single one. And watch my story about how my mentor stole my research. The takedown was legendary.